Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. Oh, man, so happy to be here with you guys today on a big Wednesday, a Victory Wednesday. I'm so happy to see everybody here in the chat as well. We got, oh, my goodness, a bunch of people already in the chat. Hacker, Charlie Williams, Jay Ward, Dale Thomas, Text Guy 2, Sandman 23, Tyler Finley, already asking fantasy football questions. Richard Aria, so good to see you, my friend. Cody Carpentier, all the way from Cancun, here in the chat. Good to see you, brother. But gosh, Cotton, Jareth Mulholland, Money B, of course, letting everybody know it's fun as hell. Man, it's so good to see all you guys for sure. Alex Tardy Dunlap. I'm sorry, I got kids to pick up. Anyway, hey man, big day today. Big show. We got Onir Richardson joining here in this first segment because if you haven't heard, there's a commitment to keep an eye on with the wide receiver Ryan Wingo. He'll be deciding between Missouri and Texas at the last minute. There's been some smoke. Look, the way that I'm looking at this thing, I'll get it off the bat right now. The way I'm looking at this thing, this is found money. I would say that this is Texas fans right now. It feels like are lucky to have a sweat, right? It feels like we're in the spot where if you're a Texas fan, if you're somebody invested in the program, if you're somebody who is interested in seeing Texas kind of add this level of talent, it's a interesting spot, right? But it had been Missouri up until like today. Up until today. The reason this changed is because there are some people in the know who began sort of feeling confident at a point in the day today that that things could go the other way. But look, for me, it's like it feels like one of these deals where all of a sudden you find some kind of, you find yourself in a spot where you got a big sweat and you're happy to be in it, but I don't think anybody should be disappointed if he ends up sticking with the original plans. Certainly it's a cool deal to kind of be in the horse race here. That's going to be at probably about 4 p.m. So we're changing up the show today. Onir is going to come on here in the first segment. We'll do our rankings with Onir, talk a little bit with him, see what he's thinking about this upcoming BYU game. I got done with the offensive line rankings. I mean, do you guys want to hear about snaps per disruption allowed and or penalties incurred? I'm sure that we'll probably have to get the Wingo stuff done before I can get you guys to focus on something like that. So we'll get the offensive line grades here throughout the course of the show. We'll take your questions. So if you guys have any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free to ask them in the chat. We will get to them throughout the course of the show. Yeah, I mean, what Trip on Two Wheels is saying is probably through some big NIL. Well, that's of course what happened. But that the relationship with Mizzou goes back a long way. Mizzou actually has some interesting interesting rules. And do you know anything about these? Like they were talking about this on the board, Blake. Do you know anything about these rules or something in Missouri about NIL?
Well, the deal is that like if he commits to Missouri, theoretically he can start getting paid today in the state of Missouri via NIL.
Oh, well, but he can't get paid by Texas in the state of Missouri.
Correct.
He can only get paid by the Missouri school. Oh, gosh.
By schools in Missouri, because I think Texas state law would prevent Texas.
That sounds like some kind of glad-handed deal out there at the Missouri State Capitol. Yeah. It's like, Bob, you don't want nobody sending these NIL deals to anybody except Mizzou, do you? Let's go ahead and get this thing passed through the House. But yeah, man. Look, Ryan Wingo's a good player. Very, very, very good player. He would definitely be a terrific addition to this class for Texas. But like I said, I'm not here to blow any smoke or get anybody's hopes up or anything like that. Like I said, it feels like one of these things that if there have been moments throughout this recruitment, and you guys know that I'm not the recruiting guy. I'm not the Jason Sukamel that calls these guys up at calls these young boys up at night. But it feels like there have been a few twists and turns with it, but man, the one thing that's been consistent is this whole deal with Mizzou. And I always ask Jason, I'm like, why? What is it that he's so drawn to up there? You know, and he's like, well, what they're doing with the Blake. What's the other receiver's name that they got? The one that's going. God, I can't believe I'm forgetting it. Can you think of his name?
It's Luther Burden, right?
Yeah. So that they pointed Luther Burden. They say, man, you want to stay home. I totally get it. And from what I understand, it feels like the NIL stuff is feels like it's going to be similar. You know, what's coming in is going to be similar. What Texas, of course, has to offer is what is going to be a wide open depth chart. If we consider Adonai Mitchell is probably, I'd say, 85, 90% to leave. Xavier Worthy's gone. When you think about the fact that, man, I just got done doing the offense, right? And so we'll talk about the offense here after a while. But there wasn't a wide receiver on the Texas offense not named Jonte Cook that that got in that football game. Isaiah Nair didn't get in the football game. Casey Kane didn't get in it. It's like Ryan Niblett didn't get in it. It feels like if Ryan Wingo were to come to Texas, he would definitely be in the cards to start over at the X wide receiver as a true freshman. He's listed at 6'2", 205 pounds. What he kind of reminds me whenever you watch his huddle reels and you watch him at just some of these 7-on-7s and stuff like that. What I really like about him is, for one, how versatile he is. He can play multiple different positions. He's almost like a guy you could see play running back. He has almost that kind of body, like a tall running. Do you know what he reminds me of, Blake? Is a taller Devin Duvernay kind of. You know,
that's an interesting comparison.
And I think that kind of guy, man, that kind of guy at the X could really fit in well. So we're gonna keep following this stuff with Wingo. We'll be able to keep you up to date with the announcement. But we do have Onir Richardson on the show. So Onir Richardson.
What's up,
you, my friend?
How are you, man? Long time no talk to.
Or like the guy at the taco shack up at the top of the road, man. He always says, "So good to see you, my best friend." Like, all right, man. Like, really? Like, I'm your best friend. Like,
well, you are paying him, right? I would, if you're giving me money, I would compliment you all the time. He's a smart man.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Smart man.
Yeah. So, what do you think, man? Like, where's your head about this whole Ryan Wingo thing? It feels to me like I was telling the chat and the audience earlier. And again, thanks so much to everybody in the Specs chat line for being here. Regardless of what happens with Wingo, we're gonna have a great show today. If we do have a commitment here to Texas, we'll get Ketchum on the show after that. If not, we'll talk about the offensive line grades. Some really interesting stuff from the offensive line grades. I just finished them. I was kind of excited to talk about them until this clearly we can see where the interest is, though. Right now, Onward, they don't want to hear about Christian Jones and his historical snaps per disruption allowed and or penalties incurred so far this season just yet.
They're waiting for Christian to graduate so they can put Cam Williams at that right guard, right tackle spot.
They just say get him at, like, he's been so good. We don't care. Give us the shiny new toy. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, and then next year when the right tackle struggles, it's like, we need Christian Jones. This is crazy. It's like, okay, for all the people, like all the like Jordan Whittington, like bench this guy, and then next year when someone goes in and misses a block. Or they're gonna say, man, we need Jordan Whittington back. Like this is some BS. Just wait. See Rodolfo. Rodolfo's that guy. Rodolfo's that guy. And wait till a receiver misses a block next year. Yeah. He's gonna say, I miss Jordan Whittington. Where is he?
Yeah, I loved it. I love this from Jay Ward. 136, 158 in the chat. Hey, if you guys are watching, if you send the good vibes here on the channel, click to like the show. It's obviously gonna give you guys a better chance of landing Ryan Wingo. So hey, it's free to click like. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. You can just click like. Let us help more people to find the channel and to find the show. If you could click like, and if you could please subscribe to the channel while you're here. Okay.
So I'm looking here. There's some guys that I don't always see on my show. You said some guys that you don't see on yours. Like Jay Ward's always in on my show. But Cody Carpenter, I don't know if he comes in a lot.
Cody Carpentier? Oh man,
your Carpentier does. I'm not.
That's my coworker at Roster Watch. So like,
really? He doesn't watch my show.
Yeah, he does the Roster Watch show with me.
Yeah, I can tell.
I think he does. What I think Cody does watch your show because he'll tell me stuff. He's like Onir said this morning and stuff. So yeah.
Oh really? Okay,
yeah.
maybe he does. Maybe he does. Actually, I kind of recognize a lot of these people. Sark After Dark, Chris Nelson, Cameron for sure. Gringo Horns though, that's a new one on me. And GT Raider 84. Like, yeah, there's some new names that are out here for sure.
Yeah, some of this is the afternoon crew, man. It's football with friends. It's definitely fun as hell. Hey, speaking of that, man. Look at
this is the latest. This is the latest pick we got from Jay Ward from back in his bull riding days.
Jeez, Jay Ward, how many times did you get these? Golly, how many concussions have you had, dude? My God, dude. Wow. Every time he sends a photo, it's of him just beat up from this bull riding, dude. It's crazy, man.
This had to be before they had the helmets on, man. Yeah. This is. I mean, that's an L, by the way. That's a
W, man. I mean, he made it through it.
He held on for 8 seconds. It's a dub.
Yeah, dude.
Wait, there's no way he held on not looking like that. There's no way he held on the entire time.
I think he got thrown off on that first buck, dude. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't look like a guy who survived. Like the people who survive, those people and the clowns, they all like come around and grab you and stuff like that, and then like you're good to go, right? But
yeah,
he said. So here's the thing: Jay Ward says his last year of riding, he had 5 concussions. That's diagnosed. That doesn't have anything to do with the concussions he had. That was just undiagnosed.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure, dude. I'm sorry. So did we skip somebody's super chat? My bad.
We got some fantasy football real quick.
Okay, trade proposal. Should I accept? Get Eckler and Jacoby Myers. Trade Travis Etienne and Ridley. Myers wouldn't start on my team. I mean, I'm not sure the amount of exposure that I'd want that much exposure to the Jaguars, but I am targeting Ridley as sort of a buy low right now. I mean, it feels like you're giving. I know with Eckler, there's a few little health concerns. I feel like you're getting the best player in the deal, but it's definitely risky. I think Travis Etienne is due to regress. I think they'll probably get Tank Bigsby a little bit more and more involved as the year goes on. So I'm seeing that you're giving those two Jaguars, man. It's a really even trade, and like Onir and I always say, these even trades are when you kind of know that they're fair. Is when both sides feel a little bit hurt. Yeah. Can you tell me if it's in PPR, Blake? We keep an eye on this. If it's in PPR, I think I would do the Eckler side. If this is half point or standard, I might stick with Etienne and Ridley, just because Myers does bring a higher floor in PPR, and we certainly know that Eckler is a more valuable PPR commodity. So how about that'll be the answer. In PPR, I'd do the deal for Eckler. If not, I stand pat.
Can I tell you about how I got educated on something a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Just speaking of Jay Ward, right? Jay Ward will appreciate what I'm about to say. So I was a few years ago, I was at covering a game in TCU, and I went out to the what is it called? The Stockyards out there in Fort Worth. And it's open like during the day. So I just decided like to walk in, and they've got all these pictures that are around there and all these awards. So it's kind of like you're going through like the history of like rodeo within the state and in that place.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was surprised at the amount of brothers who had actually come in there and been successful. Shocked me. I did not know. Jay Ward would probably attest. I could not believe that. I was like, wow, there's a lot of brothers that did this thing. Like I was like, man, this is because I'll be honest with you. I've always been fascinated by rodeo. Always been fascinated about it, by the bull riding portion of it. I actually took my kids to the rodeo last year. Yeah. No lie. I took my kids to a rodeo. It was at the HEB Center up in Cedar Park. We only lasted about 45 minutes before they wanted to leave because they felt they didn't like the whole calf roping thing because they're kids, and they were like, well, why are they being so mean to the calf? And they felt like they didn't like seeing the calf getting roped and put on the back, and they felt like it was just too small. And so like that bothered them. So after that point, I was like, "Oh, come on, kids, let's get out of here." But outside of that, though, man, we up until then, I've enjoyed it, and I've in rodeo clowns, up with a fascinating job those guys have. Like,
Golly, yeah.
I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
You gotta just you gotta have a couple of screws loose to be a rodeo clown. I think you gotta have a couple screws loose to be a clown. Period. To take it to the next level and go say I'm gonna try and get gored by bulls. Come on, it's just like whoa. It's like oh man. All right, so we're on Ryan Wingo watch. We'll see what happens. Like, do you kind of feel like I do? It's like let the fans know that it feels it feels like you know, if this were to hit, man, it feels like awesome found money, right? It feels like you know, but I would say, you know, it hadn't felt to me like it's been Texas. And like I said, you and I aren't really recruiting guys, but can you even remember a time where it went like this, where day of just everything, where the smoke came in like this day of?
No. And it's real fascinating because, you know, because of the whole, you know, NIL Missouri rules where, you know, Wingo can start getting, you know, paid like right away. And so what does that look like? Because, you know, the logic states, you know, Alex, is that if you're going to announce now, you're announcing because you want to get paid now, right? You just want to start earning some NIL deals, as opposed to like, if it wasn't, then you just wait until, you know, Texas, you know, rolls around in December and just kind of take about it that way. But it is a fascinating thing. First of all, it's great for me. It's great for me to like watch other people have to report and I don't have to worry about it. Like, it's so cool just to sit back and I'm like, I don't have anything in this race. You know, I can just sit there and watch it, and it'd be kind of cool that way. But yeah, so for me, Alex, the two things are this. I look at it as if Ringo does go, that's what happens. I kind of start looking at this 2024 receiver class, and I start thinking to myself, man, this not good, because they only got two guys that are committed currently right now, Alex, and and those guys have some injuries. Both of those guys have some injuries right now, so I start wondering a little bit more. My questions start becoming a little bit more. It's probably not 100% fair, but a little bit about where Chris Jackson is from a recruiting standpoint. They've got to go into the transfer portal if they lose this guy. But if you lose out on, you know, Wingo, you lose out on Michael Hudson, and you lose out on most of the guys that were in the state, you know, you're at a iffy place, especially if you have guys go into the NFL, especially if Xavier Worthy decides that he's going to go in.
I mean, you know, he's lock that in. Yeah, he's going.
Lock that in. I don't know what that looks like for Adonai Mitchell, you know, as far as what he's going to do and what his future is concerned. But, you know, all of a sudden, you know, Jordan Whittington is gone and Rodolfo's happy, but, you know, there's one less body. And so, like, I don't, you know, now all of a sudden you got a lot of new guys coming in next year. So, like, losing it on him, I know people would kind of do a shoulder shrug and say, all right, well, like you said, found money. But when I look at the 2024 class, I just look at it and say, ugh. Not really good as far as recruiting is concerned.
I mean, I love Parker Livingstone. I think he's a great player, but like you said, he's going to come in with a small bit of an injury thing. Freddie Dubose, we've talked about him before on the show. You know, like I have a friend that works at one of the. You probably haven't heard me say this. I know that some of the people in chat have, but I have a friend that works for one of the major universities in Texas, and he works in the personnel department. And he said that his wide receivers coach has seen a lot of these guys at camps and is going to see him at the different. Going to see him at their high schools and stuff, and he had Dubose as his number one receiver in state above Micah Hudson, which I thought was. I mean, I look at him and I don't necessarily see it the same way, but he said that there were some things that he saw on his tape that he just really loved, that thought translated really well. I think Livingstone's really slept on, just from my own perspective and the work that I've done on him. Some of the wide receiver trainers that I've spoke to that he works with up in Dallas and in Waco are people who. You know, I trust their evaluations of these guys, and they're just like, man, he's a really freaky guy. But yeah, I can understand why people would say maybe they're so used to these classes with the DeJounte Cooks and all the rest of these guys that they might not think that there's that level of player in this class if they don't manage to kind of sneak back around on the whole Micah Hudson thing.
Yeah.
So obviously that's why it makes the Wingo thing all so important. And Sandman is exactly right. Exactly right. If you guys could please like the show, subscribe to the channel. All right. So so we got Onward Richardson here.
I call him my Mariano Rivera because he's an into Sandman for me. So that's when I see Sandman in the morning, I call him Mariano Rivera of the guys in the chat, because he's exit night, enter light, take the pan off to Never Land.
Yeah, man. Except it's exit light, enter night, right? Yeah.
Well, I was close enough, right? What is it? What are the words?
Exit light and enter night.
Exit light, enter night. Oh,
yeah.
Well, you know what? Exit night, enter light sounds better, right? But I guess you would have to enter the night to go into the Sandman.
Yeah,
thing, right?
For the Sandman to come.
Yeah, you're right about that. I guess I was thinking about death.
What super chat from JP Villa, wide receiver a concern if we don't land a 5-star or a transfer portal star. Yeah, well, look, I think that I think I mean, you need more volume than this, right? You need more volume than just 2 guys. I know that Aaron Hampton is a dude who they consider also maybe it could be, he's an athlete that we could consider maybe a wide receiver, and they might need to play him. But at this point, if you just look at who's on the roster, it's like at some point you're like, oh, what are we? I guess move Savion Red back to wide receiver? Or like what? I mean, like they need more volume, and it's certainly that's something to pitch, man. Right? That's something to pitch these guys. I think that I think that, as things become clear about who's going to be available in the transfer portal, we're going to, be able to sort of see if there is sort of that star this year. There usually are, but man, it, along with the NIL, it sure will be a great early playing time pitch to that guy. Right.
But the thing is, they got to be careful though. And here's the thing, like, because they could be able to say, okay, well, you got the transfer portal, you can be able to get something, right? And so, you can get yourself at Adonai Mitchell and feel like you're pretty good. But what was it the year before? They had a Tariq Milton that they got out of the transfer portal.
Yeah, it can't be a Tariq Milton. It needs to be one of these names like Ted Perry. If it could be Zachariah Branch or if it could be Evan Stewart, all of a sudden then you're cooking with grease.
100%. But again,
cooking with grease.
That's your best case scenario, right? That's your best case scenario. It's like saying like, we whiffed on the draft, so we just got the Bucks. We just signed Tom Brady, right? You're sure that's great, but more than likely you're going to sign more Baker Mayfields than you are going to sign Tom Brady's. That's kind of like the difficult part, and you still need Evan Stewart to actually go in the portal, and there is that as well.
In all fairness, you probably would have rather had Baker Mayfield in college than Tom Brady in college, right?
Okay, I'm talking about Bucks. I'm talking about Bucks.
Okay.
About the Bucks. Yes.
All right. So, let me ask you just one quick question, and then I have a couple of rankings that I want to do with you, just like last week, and then I'll get you out of here. I know you got a million things to do.
I got nothing to do.
What about?
I got nothing to. Now I got to take my kid to practice. You're good.
Did you Did you think Texas, like at the game last week when you were there at U of H, what did you think of that facility? And did you think at any point in the game, did you think Texas was going to lose? Did you think, oh my God, man, I'm gonna have to do a post game here with the losing coach at this game?
Facility was mid. It's not. It looks a little bit better on TV than it did in person. To be quite honest with you, like it was the whole thing's with me. It was okay, but there's some facilities that you can go to. He said Unc won $500 and got some ice on his neck. I did win 500 on Prize Picks. I think I hit 4 and then over in the NFL over the weekend, Alex. And then I just need and I parlayed that with the Steph Curry or 5 and I parlayed with the Steph Curry the 1 point promotion. So when he scored 1 point last night, I got 500. Alex. So far, Alex, this year I've won 2,300 so far. So
good.
Since the season got started, since football season got started. So
that is better than me. Golly,
Okay.
I make these dumb picks on the show at the end of each show. Just like, I'll make some tonight on the games that I don't even know, because I love playing prize picks.
Yeah, you killed me last week on that Saints receiver that you were just talking us about, like
Oh,
guaranteed.
Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
I should have guaranteed you guys Jackson Smith and Jigba and all that stuff that I put in last week when I knew DK Metcalf was going to be out. I should have let y'all know that in the morning.
That guy, I put him in a couple of my things, and he screwed the pooch. So screw that.
He killed us. Okay.
Yeah, he definitely sucked. But what was the question though?
Did you think
the facility? The facility was okay. It wasn't anything like that was too impressive as far as for instance, like TCU, like, because it's 40,000 seats. So Baylor is probably nicer facility, nicer scoreboard, a little bit more modern, more updated. TCU's got a nice stadium, I don't know what they seat. So it was okay. It was nothing that, I looked at it. I could look at that whole thing and see why, like, Tom Herman was like, all right, it's time to get out of here. Like, this is a good starting point, but I need to go somewhere else. Clearly, as you know, Alex, because you've been there, I mean, clearly the indoor facility is better than the bubble. Like, that's the only crazy part about everything.
Which one's not, right?
Well, Lake Travis has a better one, right? Doesn't Lake Travis have like an indoor facility?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I think isn't that better than the bubble?
I'm sure. I've never been inside it yet, but you can definitely see it more with it.
I see pictures. Yes, there was a time, man. Listen, when it hit 24-24, Alex, I was thinking to myself, this is heading in the wrong direction. And then Dana Holgerson and their staff, before they want to complain, Alex, about the spot, 9 versus 9.5, that staff, I think, did the thing that doomed them in. At 24-24, Alex, they decide to do kind of some squib kick, some little short kick to Keelan Robinson. Mm-hmm. Instead of pinning Texas back, kicking it out the end zone and saying, Malik, you got Malik Murphy here. He's got to drive the field and beat us. We're going to make this young guy beat us. He's got to drive 80 yards. Instead, Alex, they do a short kick. UT returns it, to their own 47. Now he's only got half the field to operate. It made it so much easier for themselves. That, to me, if you're Houston, that was the idiotic, moronic move, more so than complaining about where the spot was. That's how they lost the game. And so, yeah, when it got to 24-24, I thought to myself, ooh. And then all of a sudden, when Texas got into midfield, I'm like, oh, okay, well, they probably haven't found a way to pull this thing off. Mm-hmm. And they were able to do so. So, I'll be interested, Alice, because I think they got enough to get past the BYU. And now it's just, for me, is like, how many more weeks can Malik Murphy kind of keep this team afloat? But I was definitely facilities, okay, nothing to brag home about. And, it wasn't like piped in sound or anything like that where you felt like this is a crazy environment. It just was a decent stadium. But I think 24-24 is when I thought this thing might really end south, and I don't want to go into this post game. And then at the end of the day, they end up pulling it out.
God, and so lucky they did, man. Here on a Victory Wednesday, football with friends. If you guys in the chat, man, if you could please like and subscribe, it'll give Texas a better chance of landing Ryan Wingo if you click the like button. It is of course free. It doesn't cost you anything. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see here. Onward. So we're on Ryan Wingo watch. We have Blake keeping an eye on this. He's going to pop in and tell us if there's anything new. Or Blake, let us know if he's like walking into, like, is there anything to report? Is he walking in? Is anything happening?
I think it's going to be a little bit. I bet we get another 10, 15 minutes. The stream hasn't really even gotten going yet. So
okay. So Onward, if I could just keep you for a few more of these questions, we'll kind of do a little bit of rankings talk. Okay. All right. So here we go. Rankings with Onward. Do you remember how this works?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. It's 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna list 3 items, and you have to rank them, and you can choose your own way, like how you'll choose to rank.
I'm gonna go number 1, number 2, number 3.
Okay, here we go.
Okay,
Matt Maddox, Herb Hand, Joe Wickline.
Oh golly, Jesus! Oh man. Herb Hand, Matt Maddox, or Joe Wickline. Oh, jeez.
I wanted to start out with a real zinger.
Oh gosh. This is like what this is like the tallest short person contest, right?
Yeah, but you still got to rank them. I mean, you've been you're one of these guys who's had like votes and their rankings and stuff before, man. Like you got to rank these bad teams.
All right. I'm gonna go Herb Hand, Joe Wickline, Maddox.
You got it. It's the right answer, right?
Yeah, right. Because Herb Hand at least developed guys that went into the NFL. No matter what you want to say about his recruiting stuff, he at least had a hand in guys who went to the NFL. Wickline would be number 2 for me, and Maddox had too short of a time span for me to really do anything. So I go, Hand, Wickline, Maddox.
All right, next one.
Tough. Good Lord.
Dentist, family photos, or Orange Blood's happy hour?
Ooh. Oh, the OB happy hour, man. I've been to some of these OB happy hours, man. They always ask me to organize them. I always got to go.
That's what I'm saying. You got to get there early. You got to be the one there meeting everybody, glad-handed, talking to the venue, doing so. Dentist, family photos, or Orange Blood's happy hour?
All right. I'm gonna go OB happy hour number 1. I'm gonna go family photos number 2, and dentist number 3. Because at the end of the day, whenever you go to the dentist, there's always more work to be done. Like it's just never ending. Like it's never ending. Whatever you get done, you need a certain other thing done. It's like going to like your mechanic. And they tell you like, yeah, you got this done, but now, hey, your brakes are gonna go out. Do you want to fix this now? Or you want to do it a little bit later? Yep. Like, just never ending with a dentist, and it's always painful. Like it's always there's nothing that they do for the most part that doesn't cause you some sort of pain or discomfort. So
no, nothing.
I'd rather the drinks. Give me the drinks. Family photos can be fun, and then let's do dentist at number 3. I know you. Where's yours? Yours is what?
I mean, can I just brand? I'm like you with the Herb Hand and stuff, man. This is the I don't know. I might do it about like you, because at least at the Orange Bloods happy hour, you can have the drinks. I hate the dentist, but man, I think those family photos are just the worst, dude. They're just so bad. Like your wife's always she's only in a cranky mood, getting the kids ready and making sure they look nice. You got to get there on time. The photographer's always so sassy, and you got stand like this way where you look like a total moron. It's just so It's so bad.
And Alex, you can appreciate it. The younger the kids are, the harder it is to keep like dirt and food like in the car off of them. It doesn't matter. It's almost
they're
like
attractive.
We got to wait to the last second to put the outfit on. Or there's chocolate stains all over, the shirts that everyone has matching.
All right, next one. Oh, here's one. I'm interested to hear from you. Okay. Hunting, fishing, hiking.
Oh man, this is tough. All right, probably fishing number 1. Because there's different sorts of fishing, right? I mean, and depending where you want to go, there's different locations. So you can get on a boat, you get off the bridge, you can go off a lake, you can have different kinds of scenery for the fishing. You can kind of make that thing exciting. Hiking will probably be number 2, even though I don't enjoy it. But at least being able to go out and hike. Hunting would be number 3 for me. I know that's your thing. Not a huge fan. This is not a, and I got friends who are into that. Alex, I've sent you some videos of some folks that are really into it. And what do you got? What you put like urine on yourself? Don't you put urine on your body?
What urine?
Yeah, don't you put like doe urine on you to extract them?
No, but I've never done that.
Don't they sell it? Don't they sell it?
Well, they sell what do they sell? Fox urine or something to keep certain predators away or something. I don't know, man. Like I've never
like some sort of doe urine.
I've never dealt with any doe urine. What, like doe estrus stuff? Maybe I don't know. I've never done that. But yeah, all right. So
there's got to be there's something called like a there's like a doe urine. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. There's doe urine for hunting, man. You can buy this at Academy Sports.
No, well, I don't ever buy that. I set up a ground blind in a travel corridor, man, and hope something comes walking by. I'm not using any doe urine. Yeah, you're right. It's the coyote urine that scares off some other predators for sure.
I don't know what the urine's for. I just know that you're supposed to put urine on yourself.
How about this one? Rank these people. Nashawn Hughes.
That's human beings?
Okay. Nashawn Hughes.
Okay.
Caleb Blewett. Breckenhager.
This is who? I mean, what am I judging them on?
You got to rank them. You got to rank them. And for everybody who's asking, yes, we are waiting on the Ryan Wingo announcement. If he chooses Texas, we're gonna have Ketchum on here, and we're gonna do that. But I do have some important questions to ask Onwar in the meantime.
Doesn't Nashawn? Isn't he the one that has that Wolf vodka? Is that him?
No, you're thinking of Bryce Cottrell.
Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Okay. It is. Well, I mean. There's no way for me to know anything about any of these guys to care. Like Breckenhager. So Breckenhager, like, what did he do? He punched a mirror or punched a window and messed up his arm. He messed up his fist at one point, right? Yeah. Uh-huh. So Brecken's gonna be my number 3. I'm probably gonna go Nashawn Hughes, Caleb Blewett, and Breckenhager as number 3.
Breckenhager 3? Just
yeah.
Come on, Westlake boy. That didn't get you any points.
I mean, I just think that if you punch stuff and like and have your fists swell up, like you're kind of emotionally immature. Maybe it's mature now, but like you can't be punching like glass because you're upset, right? I mean, like where are you in life right now where you're just punching? And, that's that young, dumb jock shit where you're like, I don't punch a wall because I'm upset. Like, I'm punching the locker. Like, no, I don't like that. Nashawn Hughes, I'm going to go Nashawn, Caleb. And Breckenhager's probably a good dude to have a drink with, but I just don't know if I can hang with a guy that probably drinks like way more than me, potentially.
Okay.
Unless Breckenhager right now is like a youth pastor of some church, and if he is, then I apologize, and I'll put Brecken.
Okay, so Ryan Wingo should be announcing. I guess they're starting to get the hats out and stuff like that. Blake,
I'm thinking it'll be at 4:15 or so. Okay. They're still pre-gaming it on 247. We've seen a shot of the hats, but nobody's there yet. So I think
we're just kind of here hanging out with our friends, man. It's football with friends. We hang out. We kind of talk about this stuff. We're waiting on a big decision. We'll see what happens, and we'll determine what happens with the show then. But while you guys are here, if you could please click like, if you could subscribe to the channel, you'll get more of this content into your feed, and we would certainly appreciate it. All right.
He's got a Walmart. Ben says he's got a Walmart as Georgia hat there on the table.
Okay. Well, that's good. So George is the other one. So he's acting like he's considering Georgia and stuff as well. Is it just Georgia up there, Blake? Texas, Georgia, Mizzou. Is that it?
No, he's got the full.
He's got the what?
He's got the full suite of 6 hats. So
that's the kind of color that I was asking for. So 6 hats. So what are they?
Hold on, let me go back to this shot. They've been pre-gaming it for like this whole time. It's just Wilt Fong talking for the moment. Let me figure out the 6 teams. I'll get back to you.
All right. Okay.
But the Texas and Mizzou ones are the ones that are in immediate reaching distance.
Just 2 more, Onwar. You talked about drinking. Rank these. Jägermeister, Goldschlager, Hypnotic.
Oh, they're all going to make you vomit, man. There's not a single one that won't make you vomit. Like the Jaeger, that black licorice, Goldschlager, like I haven't had since I was like 24 years old, right?
Yeah.
And then Hypnotic. Did you ever make the Incredible Hulk, Alex?
No, I've had it. I've had a million different things with all those weird drinks, man. I'm not sure I've had the Incredible Hulk. Wasn't Hypnotic kind of light blue?
Yeah, Hypnotic is it's like Incredible Hulk is like Hypnotic and
Oh, you mix a yellow something with it to make it green.
No. But let me go Hypnotic, and then it goes what was the blue drink again? What was it called? What's my third choice?
Jägermeister.
No, Hypnotic. Let me go
Goldschlager.
Incredible Hulk. It's a Hypnotic Incredible Hulk cocktail. Hypnotic and Hennessy is what it is.
Oh, Jareth Mulholland had it in Chad. So did
it's Hypnotic. So you combine it, Alex, and it turns green.
Okay, good.
And then it is, man. That is. So are we? Is this a shot or just a drink?
You're just giving them rankings.
Oh, this is horrible. I'll probably go to Goldschlager 1, Hypnotic 2, Jaeger 3.
Okay.
Because I could do a quick shot of Goldschlager and get it done. But then there's that. Hey, can I ask you one real quick before I get out of here?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I got 3 for you. You ready?
Yes.
Electric slide, the cha-cha slide, or the Cupid shuffle.
I don't know what those are.
I
don't know. I really don't. I don't know. Can I just say the gritty? That's what Justin Jefferson and those guys do.
No. You gotta rank electric slide,
all right. Electric
slide or the Cupid shuffle.
All right, I'm gonna say cha-cha slide, electric slide, Cupid shuffle.
All right.
Wingo is sat down at the table. He sat down.
I'll get out of here and I'll let Catch come in, man.
Onwar, so good to see you, man. Of course, you can find Onwar every morning here on the channel, 8 o'clock a.m. to 11 a.m. Thanks to Onwar for sure. We appreciate you coming on. Catch, what the hell's going on, brother?
Hey, take me out. I'll come back in.
Okay, so no catch. All right, so no catch. We definitely. So Wingo's saying I'll keep it short. Wingo says, "Is that what Blake? Do you want to give me any kind of play-by-play here? Obviously, people are very interested in what's happening with Ryan Wingo. Maybe you can give me a.
We just got a monologue going at the moment with Wingo. I'm kind of listening in. I don't know how much if you can hear this, but I don't want to just put their broadcast on our broadcast.
Yeah. You can definitely you can just kind of keep us.
Okay, hold on. He's holding both hats. Let's see what's happening. Looking over to the side. I don't know if that's a little sis or a relative coming over with something else.
Texas.
Did I just hear him say Texas?
Wingo picks the University of Texas. Wow.
Let's go!
Texas.
Found money.
I had to hold on for a second just to make sure he wasn't going to throw the Texas hat off or something.
Found money.
Little girl's wearing a Texas shirt too. It's solid.
It doesn't matter. Jay Ward is saying it won't last. It doesn't matter. It's found money. It might it doesn't matter. It's found money. It's like you're in the game, dude. You're in the game. He committed. Bring on. See now. See, Catch it. Look at this dude. Catch isn't scared to come on anymore. It's because Catch didn't want to come on and catch the brunt of everybody saying like, Catch, why'd you get our hopes up during the day? So like, Catch,
well, no. It wasn't that. I had always, if it was, I just had stuff I had to do first.
Okay.
I had to post the instant analysis. I needed to listen. The whole plan was always for me to be like in queue,
okay,
and to get pulled up right away.
As usual, man. Blake just screwed it all up. Blake
every time.
I can't believe it.
Wingo picks Texas.
All right, so let's talk about this. This is
huge.
It's monstrous, and I can't stress enough that this has been the last 48 hours of this recruitment. Have gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I just had one of my sources say, "Hey, I'm in a meeting." Let me know. He didn't know. He kind of thought he knew. So let's play. Look, Do you want to just go through the last 48 hours? Do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Like, where do you want to go?
No. Well, okay, all right. Well, maybe we can set the table before talking about the last 48 hours about just some of the actual there have been certain twists and turns of this recruitment throughout just the course of the whole thing. There were times
I think this thing changed like 5 times in the last 48 hours.
Okay, so but then I think that it's interesting that we maybe just focus on the last 48 hours. So if you just like to let me know what your sources, like when did you start to hear? Because I do know this. There was a time whenever it felt like it could be Texas, it could be Missouri, but they went out on their recruiting trip, and Chris Jackson, Sark said at his press conference, right? He said, we're getting our visits cut in half to some of these schools, right? And so we have to be very intentional about where we're going. We can't just be willy-nilly about where we're sending our coaches. And so on that day, I went and just looked and tried to search Twitter and find out where everybody was going, right? And it made sense. It's like Sark and Jeff Banks, they go to Duncanville, and then Sark and Flood, they go out to Mater Dei, right? And they sent they sent AJ Milwee to go see KJ Lacey, and they sent Gideon and these guys out to what's the safety, Jordan Rubel, and out at IMG, right? And then but they sent Chris Jackson to go see Wingo, right? So at that point I'm like, well, he's obvious they wouldn't be wasting the resources. We know he's a priority, but they wouldn't be wasting the resources unless they kind of thought that they could have something going on here, right? With that being said, the whole time, everything that we had heard kind of during that week and leading up into this until these last 48 hours, it kind of feels like Mizzou. They got everything going on with that. I keep forgetting the wide receiver's name, Luther Burden.
Yep.
Yeah. Going on with him. They have the whole Missouri NIL rules, all the rest of it. And then all of a sudden, bang, we get into these last 48 hours. And how does it kick off?
So he set this press conference up today to commit to Missouri. The original plan was to wait till December. There was so much smoke regarding Missouri for the last few weeks. It was like, oh, God, well, if he does make an announcement in the coming weeks, it's going to be Missouri. Last week, he announces, I'm going to make my decision on Wednesday. I don't know that the white flags came out, but there were kind of some white flags that were out with regards to everybody's attitude toward this. On Monday.
What do you mean some white flag? Oh, like we're calling it. We're just saying Merce. Where we're saying we're just waving the white, meaning like
He's going to Missouri. He's going to Missouri. Simple as that.
Flags on the Texas side.
Correct.
Okay.
And on Monday, shut up, dog. Sorry, just need to get that out of the way. The little one pays attention to me if I yell at her. Yeah. The other ones, the big girls, don't so much. Sorry about that. So on Monday, I checked in with a source, and he let me know, like, it's live. The recruitment is live. That Texas and Wingo had been in conversations. I think there were probably like some NIL questions. Without making this the NIL show, NIL is a big part of this recruitment. And I think on Monday, there were probably some of those conversations. But what I had heard on Monday was that, we're in it. I don't think it's going to be enough. But I had heard on Monday that the NIL package for Texas better than the NIL package for Missouri, period. And that if it comes down to NIL, Texas got the best NIL package. But I had heard, I don't know if that's going to be enough. The mom might want the kid to just stay home, proximity, all this stuff. The feeling was it was still Missouri. Last night.
Well, hold on. Before you get to last night, but Catch, wasn't there something along the lines of like Missouri had told them no matter what, like we're going to match it or something like that? Was there that kind of talk from that side?
I'll get to that.
Oh, all right. So, all right.
I think yes, but I don't know that happened ultimately. Like in the end, I mentioned this on the show today. This might be very similar to the Jordan Addison recruitment, where there was some thought that USC was going to give him $2 million. That's what Colin Cowherd was reporting. And then when push came to shove, he wasn't going to get anywhere near $2 million from USC. And it turned out the offer that he did have in front of him was kind of funny money, right? It was like, hey, Alex, I'll pay you $500,000 a year, but you got to go sell like Amco. And like, if you can sell like 50,000 coffee mugs, you might be able to make $500,000. So I think this might have had a little bit to do with that, because the word that got back to me was that Texas felt very certain that from an NIL standpoint, Missouri wasn't going to beat them. Late last night, we hear, there's a little Texas buzz here.
Mm-hmm.
And even into the morning, there's a little Texas buzz here. And it's actually coming from the Missouri side of things. So I reached out to a source of mine. And it was funny because Jason put a couple of updates on the website. And it was like, hearing some Texas buzz. None of us changed our future casts. Okay? All of them in favor of Missouri. I don't know that there's a single person.
You guys didn't change them last minute?
No, and I'll get to it in a second, because at the very end, Sukamel was like, glad we didn't change our future casts. This thing's been up and down all day long, so we stayed where we were.
Okay.
I reached out to the same source that I communicated with on Monday, and I was like,
this morning?
Yes, this morning.
Okay.
And I said, Missouri seems nervous. And this source says, as they should be. And I was like, oh, wait, what? Huh? Because that was not the vibe I was getting less than 48 hours earlier.
And that's one of your good sources.
It's my best source.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It just is.
Yeah.
And we communicated kind of throughout the day. Well, that's not completely true. The NIL thing popped up again. And it was reinforced that if this decision is really based around NIL, we're not getting beaten. It's okay. And then I tried to ask, well, is this going to come down to NIL? And I asked some follow-up questions. No answer. Like my best source just kind of went quiet on me. Later in the day, let me just kind of look at the exchanges, like how it kind of happened. I asked him, should I switch my future cast? And he responded back, I wouldn't. Missouri is desperate. And I kind of got the sense that as of last night, it was Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, like as of today, Missouri went kitchen sink.
Uh-huh.
And so by the time we get to an hour or two before the announcement, nobody really knows. It finally got conveyed back to me. As of last night, it was Texas. And then it was really interesting to hear 24/7 start their YouTube broadcast of the announcement. And they brought their guy, Wilfong, on. And he literally describes kind of what I'm talking about right now. It was Missouri, and then it was Texas, and then it was Missouri, and then Texas came back in, and now Missouri comes back in. As of right before it started, I don't know if anybody definitively knew. I texted my source who won because they weren't able to watch. But I get the sense that in the last 48 hours, the Wingo family came back to Texas, and the Texas staff and just the whole recruiting team reinforced the message, certainly from an NIL standpoint as well, where things stood. And I think they overtook Missouri in the final 10 meters of this race. And it is kind of as simple as that. It was Texas after the summer. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, it became Missouri. 48 hours ago, Texas starts gaining some ground. Yesterday, it's Texas. Had the announcement been last night, there was a sense it was going to be Texas. I think they've sweated all day today because I think they know that as of last night, they were in the pole position, and that today before the announcement, Missouri trying everything they can to try to flip the momentum, and they just weren't able to. And it's an incredible win for Texas. It's an incredible win for Texas. because it is at a very much a need position going into next season. I wrote about this in my my instant analysis piece. I mean, it won't be a shock. I mean, it's almost expected at this point that they're going to lose Mitchell, Worthy, and Whittington and Sanders going into the draft next year. And that, right now, I think what you're looking at is a passing offense that will be centered around Jonte Cook and Ryan Wingo, and they will go into the portal and try to find another Adonai Mitchell. But I mean, he is, I think, going to be an instant impact kind of a guy because the numbers will dictate it. It's been a little harder for Jonte Cook this season, not because he's not mega talented. They think he absolutely is the future along with Wingo, but they've got at the receiver position two guys on the outside in Worthy and Mitchell who were projected as possible day one guys, day two at worst.
Yeah.
That won't be in front of them next year. And so Wingo becomes really, really important. In fact, had they lost Wingo to Missouri, the portal becomes even more important because where are they going to get the difference makers in the passing game next year? I don't know that they're ready to invest in Isaiah Nayor. As a matter of fact, everything about this season suggests that there's a lot of cold water on the idea that Isaiah Nayor would be a front-of-the-line piece of the passing game going into next year. He hasn't played since the first game of the season.
No, he hasn't.
And you'd say the same thing about Casey Kane and –
well, he's played more than Nair.
Exactly. But, I mean, even you wouldn't look at Casey Kane and say next year he's starting. I think at the wide receiver position, they feel really good about Jonte Cook. I think – in the slot, they're really optimistic about DeAndre Moore and Ryan Niblett. Like both of those guys are guys projecting to eventually be big-time players in this offense. But I don't know that there's anybody else on the roster that they feel really good about going into next season. So somebody of Wingo's stature needs to be in this recruiting class. It was going to be a major disappointment if he weren't. And look, we still got a little ways to go until signing day. This recruitment won't end today. I mean,
somebody asked in the chat, right? Somebody asked in the chat. They says, "Is this gonna have to?" But somebody made a good point in the chat too. So, and we also had a super chat from Money B that we'll get back to eventually. Money B, I promise. But somebody said there've been two good points that I've seen in the chat. Catch. One was saying what you just said, that this is going to have to continue. This is going to be a hand padding city, right? Like Chris Jackson's going back up to St. Louis a couple times, right? But somebody else made a good point. There was something that I wouldn't have intuitively thought of, and I don't know who it was. I'd like to give him credit, but somebody said something along the lines of what he's giving up the money now from Missouri to come to Texas. So, doesn't that make it feel a little bit just a little bit safer that maybe it would have been easier to commit now to Missouri and maybe take some money and then flip to Texas later?
It's so hard to handicap because this announcement date kind of came out of the blue, right? I mean, his original decision date was going to be in December. He's the one that volunteered moving it up, and it looked like all Missouri. There's never been a plan in place really to get to the late October and make this announcement. I was talking with one of my sources. I said, if you're Texas and you've rattled the recruitment this much in the last 48 hours, why not have him delay his announcement, push it back, make it because I think if you're Texas, you want this thing to go to December, announce for Texas, sign with Texas before Missouri can respond. Now they've got to survive 6 weeks of Missouri not giving up, given that this really flipped in the last 48 hours. And sometimes I even question myself today, Alex, in talking about what's happening, because I think a lot of people think, well, that's not how recruiting really works. There's no way this kid just made a life decision with a flip in the last 48 hours. You guys have just been telling the story wrong. You guys don't know what's actually been happening.
Uh-huh.
There was a part of today where I was questioning myself, where it's like, this isn't really happening. Because I think I kind of put myself out there a little bit. If he announces for Missouri today, it looks like I've kind of teased everybody for about 5 or 6 hours today. Right. Where I convey that my source says confidently that Missouri should be nervous. I mean, the moment I do that and then Texas misses, a lot of people will just think, well, that's just Ketch trying to gain clickbait and subscribers, and he's just making stuff up. It was really interesting to hear Wiltfong before the announcement on 24/7 not go into the weeds as much as I am with NIL and some of this other stuff. But in terms of telling the story, where like a week ago, it's Missouri, and at the very end, Texas has made up a ton of ground. Only then all day long today, for there have been conversations. It was like, okay, well, I mean, Wiltfong's the reason why they're getting the announcement on 24/7. He's got a relationship with the kid. They've got that kid ranked 5th in the country overall. And Rivals has him ranked as a 5-star as well. Not everybody in the industry.
They have him ranked as 5th overall wide receiver or 5th overall player?
5th overall player.
24/7 has Wingo as the 5th overall.
Here, let me give them to you, okay?
Okay.
So you've got 24/7 has him as 5 stars, number 5 overall nationally.
Oh.
Rivals has him as 5 stars, number 19 overall nationally. ESPN has him as a high 4-star, number 27 nationally. On3 has him as a low 4-star, number 92 nationally. Well, you know he ain't going to make an announcement on On3.
I guess I wouldn't either, right? Golly.
So he makes his announcement on 24/7. And I brought this up on my show. It's really interesting that if you go to Rivals and you go to On3, there were people in both. What happened? What's going on?
I can still see you.
YouTube thing going on, and I had the 24/7 feed end.
Okay.
Anyway, then it went loud. So if you look at On3 and Rivals in the last 24 hours, there have been people in the network who've made Ryan Wingo projections, all to Missouri. Nobody on 24/7 has entered in a Ryan Wingo crystal ball.
They can't do it because they were
for like at least a week.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like, okay. Because I was looking to see if Wiltfong at the last second would change his Missouri projection. And it didn't happen. But it was clear when Wiltfong came on right before the announcement, A, he knew what was about to happen. And B, he painted a picture exactly like the one that I've been telling all day today, which is, if you can believe it or not, this thing looked settled 48 hours ago. And then Texas, I don't know if it was just NIL or what, but NIL I think certainly was a big part of it, because one of the things I've heard all day today is that Missouri on the NIL front has been trying to increase their offer, increase their positioning, increase. When I say throw the kitchen sink, I don't mean, hey, they called and said, you're going to be a day one starter. It wasn't anything like that. If I'm hearing kitchen sink, it's NIL related. And yet, at the end of the day, I still think, from what I was told, the situation from an NIL standpoint with Texas, better than Missouri. And I think it's a key point that you bring up. If it's Missouri, he could start collecting cash right away. I think they speak to what I was told about the overall package at NIL at Texas is superior, based on the fact I don't think Missouri was able ever to quite match it. And, I go back to that Jordan Addison deal. Jordan Addison, it was funny money at USC. It was.
You remember how tilted he was. He was like, they were saying, he had his people put out the report saying that, like, this is not what they promised him is not true.
Because they, it's like, hey, you can make $1 million. But a lot of that was, you can make $1 million if you sell a bunch of jerseys, and, you can autograph some helmets, and enough of them sell, you can get I don't get the sense that Texas does layaway, and I don't get the sense that Texas does like conditional, you can make money. I think there is a sense that this is how the NIL packages and things go at Texas. And Texas, up until now, has been a program it's been relayed back to me. They've never gone bad on a single promise. Which, if you're telling a guy, hey, you're going to make $1 bazillion once you enroll in classes, to know that it's happened exactly the way they say it's going to happen, because these kids talk NIL. There's this sense amongst fans that NIL could tear a locker room apart. You know what they did with guys like Ryan Wingo? The players will show them their contracts. Say, hey, you want to know how it works? Here it is. Nothing funny, nothing screwy. Here's a look at these guys will literally, in the name of recruiting, show these guys, hey, you know how Texas tells you this is how it's going to be? Here's my contract. Exactly the way they said it's going to be. And so Texas across the country right now has a reputation for not only promising big on the NIL front, but they've delivered every single time. And I think it's mattered when you think about, well, hey, they got Brandon Baker, the borderline 5-star offensive lineman from California that committed in the last month.
Get that borderline out of here, man. He should be a 5-star, right?
Well, but he was very transparent about, I'm going to make my decision based on NIL. And when it comes to Texas, whatever he was told on the NIL front, as of right now, those guys know Texas will come through on what they say. And across the country on NIL, that is not always the case.
Even at some of the big schools, right? Even at the blue bloods.
I've heard there was even an instance or two where A&M didn't come through on some NIL stuff that they've promised. And A&M, Texas A&M, and Georgia are the 3 NIL monsters right now. Nobody else is competing with them. But even Texas A&M, I've been told, has had a couple of instances where it didn't quite go down the way guys were told it was going to go down. And that has not been the case at Texas. And I think, to me, this is another NIL victory for Texas.
Absolutely, just a monster here. It's just a big monster. If you guys are just tuning in, of course, Ryan Wingo, the elite stud wide receiver, steps right in at the X wide receiver for Texas, has committed to the Longhorns over Missouri. Just in a weird 48 hours for Catch and Jason and everybody. We have Catch here talking about it. This is Football with Friends, man. It's always fun as hell, but super fun today. There are like 443 of you guys in the chat. If you could please, while you're here, click the like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get up to 18,000 subscribers, and we would certainly appreciate that. It is, of course, free. It doesn't cost money to subscribe or to like. Catch, we had the question from Money B a little bit earlier, and it was a super chat. I don't know if we can still pull it up, but in honor of Wingo Wing Wednesday. So, I mean, a lot of
that kid's got to get a Pluckers NIL deal.
A lot of people have talked about this, and look, man, I hear South End Zone Queen and some of these people, and I mean, she could know from the people that I've talked to that are close to Micah Hudson. I get the sense that they kind of love the guy. They say he marches to the beat of his own drum and stuff like that. I'm not sure if that's that means something else besides kind of the way I would just take it on at face value. But they're talking about stuff about how it feels like that it could be a better fit maybe with a guy like Wingo. I don't really know. I can't speak to that.
I don't know that I agree with that. I mean,
But all right. So with all that, so I was saying all that to say, putting all that stuff aside, right, that the people might be mentioning in the chat, what is it? What does this do with Micah Hudson? I mean, do you keep going after another elite guy? Do you think you've seen so many of these? Does your pitch is your pitch now degraded because
probably a little bit. I mean, I think one of the things, if Wingo goes to Missouri, there's a gaping hole in the recruiting class begging for a 5-star receiver to fill it.
Yeah,
I think that the doors of communication between Micah Hudson and Texas are maybe reopened. But, when Jason and I were talking about this last week, if you were doing like handicapping percentages, it was like somewhere between 10 and 20% at best. Like, it is a little bit of a Hail Mary, but a Hail Mary is better than like the door's not open at all and it's 2% as opposed to 15%. I think that it was always going to be unlikely with Micah Hudson. If you were going to pull that off, Texas Tech crap in the bed and A&M crap in the bed would go a long way towards that happening. But you know where he was? You know where Micah Hudson was this past weekend?
No, I don't.
He was in College Station for the Aggies bye week. Another visit to A&M. So I think that Texas Tech and A&M are going to duke that thing out. I asked Adam Gorney yesterday from Rivals.com. Ironically, I didn't ask him about Wingo. I asked him about Hudson. And he said, the kid's still saying Texas Tech. He's saying it's not going to be an NIL-related decision. But, boy, he was at A&M last weekend. And not because he wanted to go see the Alabama game. He went to College Station. I don't know if it was on an official visit or not, but he visited A&M last weekend on their bye week, still maintaining that he's a Tech commitment and there's nothing for Tech to worry about. But, boy, there's a lot of smoke in College Station. And I think when I heard that, I was like, boy, at the time, if you think of when I asked Gorney of this last night, I wasn't thinking that today Texas was going to end up with Wingo. So, my initial response to that, and I didn't actually even post a note on Orange Bloods about it, right? I was like, oh, last thing I want to do is post a note on Hudson tonight where the good news is all pointed towards the Aggies. All that would do is just piss people off. Maybe I'll make a note of that in the war room or something like that, rather than make a post and have people like bury the kid. But I wouldn't anticipate. Look, they're going to have their hands full keeping Ryan Wingo until signing day. Like, let's be real. This thing is flipped maybe a couple of times in the last 48 hours. It would be naive to believe that, well, Missouri will just give up now. I mean, Missouri's going to continue to try to recruit.
Well, it's just like, Catch, just think about it, man. Think about how discouraged they must be after this whole time. They're like, dude, I mean, it's in the bag. He moved the actual date of the
Yes.
He moved the date of the announcement up to commit here to commit here, and all of a sudden Texas swoops in last minute, and everything that they'd done, all the work that they'd done, the fact that they'd put the package together, the fact that they had said like it had come together, it was like, that's it, we got it. Like Elijah Drinkwitz is, he's planning drinks with his wife later to probably celebrate this thing. You know what I mean? And then this happened.
Oh, they've got to be crushed right now in Missouri. They got to feel like they fumbled on the 2-yard line because, like you said, Texas wasn't pushing for a commitment. So, Texas hasn't once been, hey, why don't you commit early? You could help us out. You could gain momentum. Texas has been playing this coolly. Hey, do your thing. Do it at your own beat. We are stability personified. You you know what we're thinking from an NIL perspective. Nothing's going to change. And we think our NIL offer is better than anybody else. So there's no reason for us to change a thing. They've been steady. They haven't pressured him at all. It was the Missouri side of this that has us talking today about Ryan Wingo being committed to Texas. If he doesn't change his commitment plans last week to announce today in favor of Missouri, then we just go into December, which again is what I think Texas honestly would prefer. If you were to ask Texas, would you rather have a commitment now?
Well, not now.
Or
Right.
wait?
Really? Do you think that they would have preferred to
Yes.
You're saying if I could guarantee you that you get the commitment later, you would rather have the commitment now than say or later and you don't know what's going to happen, right? Are
Now
you saying
Texas has to be on defense for the next 6 weeks. And
right.
When you're chasing a guy, you can get to be on the offense. There's a sense that once a kid commits to you, it becomes harder to recruit the kid. Because now, think about it like this. If you are A&M, Georgia, Miami, Missouri, any of these teams, now they know who the team is. Before, we've heard Texas is the leader. Oh, we've heard Missouri is the leader. But for the next 6 weeks, every school that wants Ryan Wingo is going to take a stick to the Texas pinata. And they're gonna say what they're all gonna, and the thing is, you'll hear in your ear for the next 6 weeks, Sark can't win the big one, or like whatever the ammo is, right? They can't get Jonte Cook on the field. Like they'll hammer those points over and over and over again. And whereas it used to be kind of scattershot, now everybody knows who they've got to take down specifically. So if you're Texas, you're thrilled to get the commitment from Wingo. What I'm telling you is, if 3 months ago we were sitting around having drinks with members of the UT football department, and we said, what's the best case scenario with Ryan Wingo? I think it's announces on signing day, he signs, and there's no time left for anybody to go do one last kitchen sink. If Missouri threw the kitchen sink today, they're going to go get the bathroom sink tomorrow, and they're going to go upstairs in a spare bathroom and get another sink.
Yeah, right.
There'll be a bunch of sinks potentially thrown. And the thing is, if he announces in December, you might not ever have to worry about 8 sinks being thrown.
Sinks falling from the sky from every single direction. Well, listen, I have a question pertaining to that, Catch, because you've been doing this for longer than anybody else. Of course, this is Football with Friends. I'm Alex Dunlap. This is you guys all know Jeff Ketchum from Orange Bloods, the editor at orangebloods.com. If you guys are here watching this, if you could please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get up to 18,000 subscribers. If you could please like the show, we would certainly appreciate that. You just click the like button, click the subscribe button. Very easy. Let's see. Super chat. Oscar Elizondo, my good friend. 400 is the appreciation Alex deserves for putting on a show this fun. Well, it is indeed fun as hell. Oscar Elizondo is always right about that. But man, it is a fun show today for sure. Let's see. Super chat from RC7842. Top three names that you think Texas has a legit shot to flip. I think that they're wondering. I don't know. It's is it flipping, or is it just maybe guys who might end up in the portal? Is there anybody that sort of comes to mind to you, Ketchum? And I'm not sure he's talking in regards to the wide receiver position specifically, or whether
I have not heard names yet, but they will go into the portal. And the Adonai Mitchell stuff got out early last year.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it ended up hurting. They ended up getting Mitchell, but the Berry and Brown. I think there's a good chance they would have gotten Berry and Brown from Kentucky last year, except who was an all SEC freshman last season with Kentucky. The word locally got out that he was unhappy, and I don't think it really had anything to do with Texas. Word got out that Berry and Brown was thinking about entering the portal. And
you know how early that got out, Catch? Because I know how early it got out, because we had talked about it before on our on Slack, right? This is something we talked about, and I went on a hunting trip to somebody from the Modcast that invited me out to their ranch, and I remember it vividly. It was right around November 5th, and we'd been talking about that for a week before, because I was out there with him. We were gabbing, talking, having some fun, and he was like, who are some of these guys we're looking at? And I'm like, oh, well, there's the Kentucky kid, So by the 5th, we'd already been talking about that for a week. I mean, it's basically, we're kind of coming up on that. It's almost like we probably started talking about it right about now.
Yeah, it was, maybe a little bit right about now-ish.
Yeah.
Locally, it got out that he might enter the portal, and he started getting asked about it. And they won a big game late in the year. Might have been against Louisville. It might have been their rival game.
Uh-huh.
In the post game of that, he got hit with I think he scored 2 touchdowns in that game. So they're talking to him afterwards. And he committed to staying at Kentucky. And I had heard it was a shock to his agents, the people who represent him. They were like, what? What did you say?
Yeah.
But some of that was in the heat of the moment. He's an 18-year-old kid. He's feeling the pressure of being asked, Are you loyal to this current team who just won a game today, or might you leave? Had none of that ever happened and the word had never got out, I think there's a good chance that Barian Brown would have entered the portal. It got so noisy that I think is part of the reason why he didn't. Now, it got noisy around Adonai Mitchell, and it didn't make a difference at all. I mean, everybody knew going into each of those playoff games that there was buzz that he was not only going to enter the portal, but he was going to enter the portal and go to Texas. And it still went down that way. So, you know, we've seen multiple situations where how these things can play out. I got to believe it might be a little quieter this time around, where if there's a guy that's interested, they won't, I think, this year want to have the Barian Brown situation happen again. So I think it might be a little bit more in the dark, and maybe that's the way it needs to be. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud when asked the question.
Sure, yeah.
I think they will go. I think they still will go get a wide receiver in the portal who will probably fit the profile of an Adonai Mitchell. I think there will be other positions that they'll look through in the portal, and whether they can get guys or not remains to be seen. If we're talking about flipping guys, I think you look at the Texas A&M commitment list. I think Ty Anthony Smith, the linebacker, is an obvious guy to keep an eye on. I think
somebody mentioned DeAndre. Well, he's even saying it. DeAndre Carter. We should have thought about that, like, because isn't he committed to Auburn?
Yes.
I mean, I would consider,
and that's one we're obviously waiting to see what happens there. You know,
he's certainly a candidate. He's certainly a strong candidate to consider. Yeah,
but I'm thinking of names that haven't been discussed a lot.
Oh, okay, all right.
You know, I think they'd like to have Weston Davis potentially flip if at all possible, but there's a lot of talk that he might actually flip to LSU. Matter of fact, when we had Billy Lucci on the show last week, he mentioned that from an A&M perspective, the guy that they were most worried about losing was Weston Davis, and it wouldn't be to go to Texas. It would be to go to LSU. So, you know, I think A&M is looking at their commitment list and a little antsy. They got to win some games and stabilize the momentum there. You mentioned Carter. I mean, that's an obvious one. We know how much Texas wants to get in to modern day. So, yeah, I think some of the ones are obvious. I think you look at this Texas recruiting class, they haven't done anything at the linebacker position after the class they signed a year ago. So if you were going to pinpoint potentially a guy that they would be interested in flipping, I'm not the biggest Ty Anthony Smith guy in the world. He's not my favorite prospect. I don't think he's as good as some of the linebackers they signed in last year's class, but he's at a position of need. He's at a position where there are guys at his high school next year that they will be interested in. It's a head-to-head. It's East Texas. I mean, he checks a lot of boxes. Even if I don't quite think he's a monster, there aren't a lot of big-time linebackers in the state of Texas this year. So he's on a list that I think they'd have a strong interest in. He's probably the guy that I'm watching the most. When Draylon Miller decommitted from A&M last week, the wide receiver, the first guy that I saw respond to wish him well and tell him, hey, man, you got to do what you got to do, was Ty Anthony Smith. And it made me think out loud. Okay.
Yeah, that can certainly tell you something.
If you're super loyal to A&M, you're not telling guys, hey, man, don't worry about decommitting from A&M. You go be happy.
Right. All right. So we have some super chats to get to here. And of course, we're here at Alex Dunlap, Jeff Catching Football with Friends. If you guys are new to the channel, if you could please subscribe to the channel, click like, and you can find us here every day, 3:30 to 5:30. Today, you know, if you came for the offensive line rankings and the new snaps per disruption allowed numbers, I think we're going to just hold off on that until tomorrow.
Can I selfishly ask an O-line question real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Christian Jones, did his grade this week decline slightly from norm?
Yep.
Okay. I thought so.
It did. And then I'll be working on my column for that tonight. You can, of course, find that at orangebloods.com. That's where Ketch and I both do all of our written content and all of our work. But I'm not going to get to the offensive line grades today. I have a few questions for Catch. We'll get these super chats. We might even wrap this up just a little bit early today because this is a Ryan Wingo day, and this has been fun as hell, dude. Like, so we're just gonna keep this being the topic, and then I'll just have my show already planned for tomorrow, right? Okay.
Hey, real quick, Alex.
Yeah.
When I called Chad this morning, I called him at about 9:15. And I was like, hey, we talked about the show. And I was going to go back to bed for an hour because I didn't sleep real well last night. It was one of those nights where like the dog got into the bed and the dog's paws are like kicking me in the back. And I wanted to kill the dog. And so I was like, I told Chad, hey man, let's talk about the show. And then I'm going to go try to sneak in like one more hour of sleep. At the end of our conversation, I go, oh, and by the way, we should talk about Ryan Wingo today because he is announcing today. And I was like, so let's like make sure we leave like somewhere in the show 5 minutes for Ryan Wingo. We end up doing 3 hours of Ryan Wingo, and we're just like you. Tomorrow's show, it's already prepared.
Bag, right? It's good, man. It's fun, dude. It's great, and it's just great. It's great for Texas fans to see that out of the stone blue, Catch, just out of the stone blue, that they've landed a legitimately awesome player. Like I was going to ask you this a little bit later because but it goes along with this. There's a few important questions that I want to ask you, but I want to answer the super chats first, of course, right? As far as Wingo, he's Jay the activist is saying Jamar Chase. I guess he's been telling you that before. I'm not sure I see as much of a Jamar Chase. Do you know, like I was saying it earlier, I kind of see I see like, and this isn't to be saying like he can't be like a Chase. I think he has the same kind of around the same height. So I think I'd have to look at Jamar Chase's weight on mock draftable with what he was coming out, but I think he's kind of got a little bit kind of more BMI to him. He kind of reminds me of a dude who is kind of like right now, like a taller Devin Duvernay, a guy who's 6'2" as opposed to like 5'11" or whatever Duvernay is, but thick. You know how Herman says like Duvernay wore armor is what Herman would always say, right? He's a guy he looks like you maybe line him up at running back sometimes, even though he appeared a little bit just kind of small and stuff. Man, you get up, you kind of stand next to him, you're like, dude, that guy's got a lot of mass on his body for being that fast. And I was looking it up today with the Wingo stuff when we first started doing this, and I was looking at his track times and also looking at what his forget whether his mother or his father had told that whatever the St. Louis newspaper was when they're doing a feature on him about his 40 time that they had laser timed at 4:39. At this age, Catch a 4:39. They were talking about a verified already a 37-inch vertical. This is an athlete and just a killer, soft-handed, natural receiver with a ton of versatility. He's saying Jamar Chase. I don't know if there's anybody that sticks out to you maybe as a comp. And also, I know you've already written up your instant analysis for people who haven't seen it. Just what is your read about the guy's game? Like, how does he fit in? Like, do you think he's a natural to slide in at X? He's not your most traditional kind of, he's not a 6'4" Adonai Mitchell type of body, but you can certainly play X wide receiver at 6'2", whenever you have that kind of speed and that kind of BMI.
I think more AJ Brown. If you look at him,
I like that. Because he could fill out to that size, right?
I mean, he's a big. Let's just talk about who he is right now.
Okay.
In high school ball in the state of Missouri, there's just nobody that can touch him. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger than everybody. There ain't a whole lot of like. I saw someone I was asking earlier for like a Duncanville DeSoto score. He's never been involved in a game like that in his life where it's like, how many D1 guys are on the field? Oh, there's 30 guys between both rosters. And it becomes a little bit of like men versus men, right? Where it's like, well, hey, there's Caden Durham over there and Colin Simmons over here. And they're all different, but like they're ballers. I don't know that he gets a whole lot of that right now in the state of Missouri. When you watch his highlight film, you notice a couple of things. One is like, holy shit, man. Like he's just physically more developed and stronger than like anybody else he's playing against.
Yep.
And then you realize Oh, that 10.55 track speed as a junior
Oh, goodness.
is real. Like you realize, oh, he's bigger than everybody, but he runs away from everybody too. It makes watching his film sometimes comical because like they'll just get him the ball any way possible. And then guys aren't able to like bring him down, but B, they can't catch him either. So he's a unique guy. I think he has a chance. Boy, you know me, man. I don't like to throw around AJ Brown comparisons.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was surprised to hear you.
I cringe whenever like Savion Red is the next,
Deebo Samuel.
And it's like, oh, can we stop doing that? Yeah. But physically, what AJ's like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
He's not one of these. He's a big receiver. I think sometimes AJ Brown looks taller than he is because he is so big. That's a little bit like stylistically, he's like AJ Brown at the high school level. Now, can that translate to the college level and then maybe beyond? Like, I'm not telling you he's going to be that good at the next level. But
AJ Brown was actually, do you know what, man? It's crazy. I'm just looking it up right now. I'm looking at the combine database. He was only what 6'4". So he was only 6 foot and 1/2. He's only 6 foot and 1/2 inch.
That's crazy.
But he's 220. But you're right. That's amazing. I just forgotten that because he looks like a dinosaur robot, wide receiver out there. He does not look like he's anything.
I don't ever watch a cornerback and think, oh, that guy's as big physically as AJ Brown is. I'm going to be curious to see how they use Ryan Wingo. The thing though that is absolutely legit that Sark is dying to take advantage of is that dude can run. I mean, it is, if he's running as a 10.5 as a junior, I hope I need to look and see if he's an early enrollee.
It's all happened so fast. We have a lot we need to face.
But if that guy is running track this year, it most guys do improve from their junior year to their senior year. You start, if he's suddenly becomes a 10.4, 10.3 kind of a guy, I mean, he's almost illegal at that. That's why he's a 5-star. He's a 5-star because he's got all of this size and he's kind of a barbarian in pads on the field, but he doesn't have Zachariah Branch speed.
Who does?
But he's got like Ryan Niblett speed.
Which is insane when you consider how not little, but he's a jitterbug. It's really insane. So maybe Jamar Chase isn't I don't know. Maybe it's not the worst. I kind of think he's going to be bigger than Chase.
Chase is silky to me,
right?
Whereas
a little more slender.
I'm telling you, this guy's a specimen.
He's a tank.
He's a tank who flies, and I don't know that Sark's ever really quite had a receiver like him. He's different than the guys they had at Alabama. If you go back and think about his USC guys, like he would have guys like Mike Williams were big guys, but they weren't burners.
No.
This is a guy that is a bit of a tank, but he's a tank that can move at a very high acceleration rate. You can, on paper, you can start to see some combinations of wide receivers next year where it's an explosive group, maybe even a more explosive group than this year. I don't know that I think of anybody than Xavier Worthy do I think of as on any given play they could just go 80. They could have a number of guys next year, whether it's him, Niblett, DeAndre Moore. Again, I think they're going to go into the portal. Jonte Cook's obvious, going to be a major piece of the puzzle. So, I think that what do we got here? What did Cody say?
He's saying that Chase right now is a full-grown NFL man that's gone through his NFL puberty, is 6 foot 201. Wingo is 6'2", 205.
He's never hit a college campus yet. Like I promise you, Chase was probably like 170 when he went to LSU and then bulks up while he's there. I mean, Wingo, again, he's a hard guy. There aren't many guys. I don't know that I don't think he's a better football player than Micah Hudson. Like as a receiver, I think Micah Hudson is a more developed, skillful wide receiver at this point. I watched Micah Hudson and I see Garrett Wilson. And I see a guy who is incredibly quick, is in just a natural wide receiver who does wide receiver things. I watch Ryan Wingo and he's a different child's people. And it's different, right? You don't watch Ryan Wingo right now in high school and notice the route running,
his separation abilities. Yeah.
You notice they get him the ball and he swats guys away that get near him and runs away from anybody who's remotely away from him. Like, guys don't gain on Ryan Wingo.
Right, but the ball skills, I mean, the ball skills are very good, right? Really good hands,
but
really
I don't know
good tracking ability, framing. Like, that stuff's good.
I think he's raw as a wide receiver. Whereas I look at Micah Hudson and think to myself, you can tell that guy's been well coached, that maybe I think Ryan Wingo has more room from where he's at right now to reach his ceiling.
Oh,
he is athletically far superior to Micah Hudson. Far superior. I mean, Micah Hudson ain't running a 10.55 as a junior, but I watch Micah Hudson and think to myself, he's probably more a naturally skilled wide receiver. I'm waiting to see what Ryan Wingo looks like when he's been coached really well, when he's able to focus fully on football. I think he's got a chance to be. He's a 5-star for a reason. I think Micah Hudson is a 5-star because as a player, and I think Ryan Wingo is more of a 5-star for Rivals because of all of the explosiveness, the tools, the measurables, the fact that it's hard to compare him to many guys, really and truly. If we think about this year in college football, if we try to compare him to a wide receiver right now in college football, nobody really comes to mind immediately. And I can kind of do that with Micah Hudson. Ryan Wingo is a little more unique, I think, just as a talent.
Well, and because it always came with qualifiers. It's like, well, if he's like this guy if he was taller, or this guy if like all the rest of it. Okay, so there was one. Okay, so a super chat here. So I want to ask you one more question that kind of goes to where we go from here.
I would rather have Justin Jefferson, Jay.
I would rather have Justin Jefferson too.
But that is not a slight towards AJ Brown at all,
or that type of player. Justin Jefferson is just he's one of the best. He's on track to make the Hall of Fame. Okay, all right. So catch him. I want to ask you this, and then we can clean up any super chats, and we can bounce out. All right. Thanks so much for taking the time to hop on today. Of course, it's Football with Friends. We're here every day, 3:30, 5:30 Central. If you can, please subscribe if you're here and you're not subscribed, and like the show. It certainly helps us to get more viewers, and that's what we're in the business of doing around here, of course. So catch. Okay, so Ryan Wingo, I can't believe we're doing this today. For one, that's like, oh my God, Ryan Wingo is on board. He's in the boat. Is it a situation where, all right, so you mentioned the recruiting will continue through December. Now we're in a situation with Texas where we have the BYU game this weekend that we're going to have to get focused back on and start getting our ducks in the row about how that thing's going to look with Malik Murphy. I did some studying yesterday, put on my Dr. Alex cap and did a bunch of studying about these AC joint sprains for Quinn Ewers and found a lot of scientific research that said we're probably looking at 3 weeks. If it feels like after 2 games, it might be a little bit too early to get him back. Do you think the pitch to Wingo, for one, or other schools going to come in if Texas does stub their toe, or maybe they don't look as effective with a Malik Murphy so far? If the pitch to Wingo was moving forward into the future, we have Arch Manning, we have Malik Murphy. They're great quarterbacks, all the rest of it. And do you think that the biggest part of the pitch, so for one, or other schools going to be watching every Texas move and calling up Ryan Wingo and telling him, hey, like the offense didn't look great this week if they didn't, or things like the rest of that. How important is it now? How much more important is it now to get these wins, right? As far from a recruiting perspective. And secondly, when I think about it, how do you think, like, I know that you can't know directly, and maybe this is a better question for Jason, who's had a lot more contact with him, but I feel like you have a good intuition about this. What do you think the pitch is you're going to be with Arch Manning, or is the pitch that you're going to be with Malik Murphy? How does that all look, do you think?
Oh, I think they're careful about. Look, that'll get back to Malik. If they were telling him starting next year, you're going to be catching passes from Arch Manning. Again, these players talk to the extent that they show each other their contracts. So I think they're real careful about how they would talk about the quarterback. He knows that Arch Manning is committed there. I think one of the things that he can take to the bank, that even more so than you could at almost any other school in the country, is they're going to have NFL quarterback play as long as Steve Sarkisian is the coach. They're even now they've got a commitment from in the 2025 class from a kid from Alabama who's a top 10 prospect in the country. You know what I mean? It's like they're just going to always have elite level national quarterbacks on hand. And I think that that's all they need to tell him. He knows that Arch is there, and he can talk to players on the Texas team and ask them about the quarterbacks and Arch. And, Arch is really good about recruiting, is really good about making sure that he knows who guys are and introduces himself. So, Arch has got a little Chris Sims in him, where the year after he's committed, he's making sure he's around when Ryan Wingo comes in for an official visit or for an unofficial visit. So those guys know each other, but I don't know how Missouri counters that. And I think this is really going to be Texas, Missouri the rest of the way. So other schools can try, but for the last few months, it's been Texas and Missouri. It's been Texas and Missouri in the last 48 hours. It's been Texas and Missouri yesterday. It was Texas and Missouri today. That's who Texas is going to have to worry about. And, I'm getting the sense that I think their NIL package has proven to be a little shaky based on the pure fact that I keep hearing that Texas's situation in NIL is just superior. So can Missouri regroup? Is there something that they can do? Maybe. Look, I don't think this is over. I don't. He's visited Missouri 4 times since the middle of June. It's not right down the street. I guess, if he's living in St. Louis, he's got to drive an hour and a half or so to get there. But he's gone to see Missouri play in person a couple of times. Since he visited Texas in mid-June, he's made 1 visit to Texas and 4 visits to Missouri.
God, man, what a suck out. I can't believe that this happened.
It's a runner.
I didn't realize it was 4. Have you seen anything like this, Catch? Like you've been doing this for 20, 30 years now? Like
close enough. Yeah. My first set of rankings are 1997.
All right. Close. 27, 20, whatever.
I'm working on a 2025 list right now. So, we're creeping up on 30 years worth of rankings. All day long. I asked.
He's asking, is it comparable to a Bijan, to the Bijan situation?
No. The uniqueness of this is that in the last 48 hours, they swindled another in-state school. So by the time the Bijan thing happened, you got the sense that the thing about this is usually, and we legitimately went into 4:00 not knowing.
Yep.
I mean, I had a source who's like, text me and let me know how it goes. That's not usually how that works. Normally, I don't have sources asking me to be their source, but a little bit of a unique situation. And, were they not? I can't think of a Texas situation quite like this one. When they got Shiro Davis, more than a decade ago.
Was he a top 10 national? Was Shiro looked like a top 10 national guy. He sure didn't play like one once he got.
He was like a national top 100 guy.
Yeah,
and he was from Louisiana, and at the last minute picked Texas, and nobody knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the closest I can come to where when he announces, there will be a lot of people nationally today that are shocked by this. Because again, if I go to his Rivals page, Mark Passwaters from the A&M site entered Missouri as a future cast yesterday. Adam Gorney from Rivals entered in his future cast for Missouri just last week. Cole Patterson, Sukamel, Brandon Hall, and me. It's a list of guys. Gabe DeArmond from our Missouri site switched his projection from Texas to Missouri on October 12th. There are, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people in the Rivals network have switched picks to Missouri in the last 2 weeks. So the whole nation has been thinking Missouri, Missouri, Missouri. I was on the On3 website because I was curious. Had anybody entered a sneaky Texas pick today that I missed, either on 24/7 or on On3? The answer was no in both cases. The difference was I found it interesting that there hadn't been any Ryan Wingo crystal balls for 24/7, maybe in weeks, whereas on On3 and Rivals, right up until the last 24 hours, more people had been entering Missouri picks. This is a big shock. I mean, maybe it's not a shock, but if you ask anybody yesterday, where's Ryan Wingo going, it would have been almost 100% consensus answer that it was going to be Missouri. So, I did not think I would be on your show today talking about Ryan Wingo. Let's put it like that.
I didn't think so either. And I didn't think that the biggest question mark that I had about this recruiting, about this recruiting class, and the biggest question that we had, like, we were about to have to be coming into November talking a ton about transfer. I mean, we're still kind of Blake, can you throw up that scholarship board real quick? So are we still coming into November still talking about the transfer portal at wide receiver? I think we still have to be, right? Considering Whittington.
Yeah. No, I think the difference is maybe now it's 1 instead of 2.
Okay. So you previously thought that they had to take at least 2, and now it's 1.
If you weren't going to get someone like Wingo in this class, they needed to, because the other 2 wide receivers are projects. And they're projects that arrive with medical red flags. I mean, Parker Livingston is a guy that I thought might have actually ended up being a national 100 guy based on the way the start of his season's going. But now he's got a Lisfranc injury, and like those are always scary.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Freddie DeBose, who tears his ACL, comes back. He's playing this season, but he hasn't looked like pre-injury Freddie DeBose. And you could, I hate to say it, but if they were recruiting him just off of his form from this season, I don't even know if he has a scholarship offer. And before Wingo commits, you've got a guy who's coming off of an ACL who's not all the way back. And you've got a guy who just this year suffered a Lisfranc injury. They needed a Ryan Wingo in this class. So they weren't going to get it through, I think, recruiting. You had to go out and get at least 1 guy in the portal, maybe 2. Now I think maybe they can, I'm not saying 2's off the table, but they won't. One of the things that you can always trust about Sarkisian, he's not a real big fan of blocking the pathway of his superstar prospects. I mean, if you think about the offensive line class from just last year, you could have made the case that last year's team would have been better had they gone out and signed a 1-year stopgap, an experienced guard or an experienced tackle that allow them maybe not be forced into having to play Cole Hudson last season. But like they're pretty tried and true, where they are going to let their young guys play more times than not.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go into the portal and look for a wide receiver. I think they're going to look for a tight end. I think they're going to look for an interior defensive lineman. I don't think they'll go get an edge guy. Why? Because they don't want to block Colin Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people are going to be like, we need help on the pass rush. let's go get a guy. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll look for help at safety, and I think they could look for help at linebacker, maybe. But we know they signed that big class a year ago, and at some point they're going to want to let those guys. And they could have gone and got a linebacker in the portal this year, and I think it would have made them a better team. I think they would be better off, even if it was just like a Diamante Tucker Dorsey 1-year stopgap type, someone who's a veteran, somebody who knows on the field what they're doing. I think we've seen in most of the linebacker rotation, been a lot of David Benda. Anthony Hill's playing more right now. And had they gone out and got a transfer linebacker, maybe that stunts the growth of Anthony Hill a little bit. But I think linebacker probably last among the positions that we've talked about. But again, wide receiver, tight end, interior defensive line, safety, I think those are all positions you can see them look for help on in the portal.
What an absolute day. There's a couple of super chats that we're going to get to, and it's important that we get to them. But Blake, it's also important to make sure that when you're selling your home in the DFW area, that you're doing it with the absolute best you possible can, and that is, of course, Mr. Val Garcia. Look at Val Garcia. He is there to
He help. Looks like he knows that Ryan Wingo just committed.
Val Garcia. I guarantee you that Val is in the chat right now, and that's the smile that he has on his face. Val Garcia is one of us. If you sell your house with him, he'll sell your house for free. If you work in education or if you work in the ministries, if you tell him you heard about him on Football with Friends, he'll sell your house for half price. He's going to save you 10, 15, 20K. You can find him, of course, on Twitter, or you can find his website at valenrealty.com. You can get his phone. You can call him on his phone. And Val's a super awesome guy. He's our greatest sponsor, man. We love Val Garcia. The phone number is 469-647-8729. He's all over the DFW area, anywhere from Burleson to Frisco to Plano, anywhere. He's going to help you out, and he's going to sell your house for half price. All right, so Catch, let's get these super chats, and I'll let you get out of here. Thanks again so much for jumping on board. I can't believe what a big day it's been. What a big day. And thanks to everybody in the chat, man. Thanks to all you guys. If you could please click to like the show, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get up to 18K. We bring you this content for how many hours a day? Every day we're doing shows all day long. 3 hours there's a morning show, then the hour in the
early morning show, a morning show, a midday show, your show, and an evening,
and then an evening show, like 3 or 4.
And tonight's evening show features Cedric Griffin. So check that out at 9 o'clock.
Cedric Griffin. Oh my goodness. Dude, they get all the great sponsors and guests, man. They do a good job on that show. The Outsiders. That'll be on. What time is that?
9 o'clock.
And they're gonna and they'll I'm sure they'll be breaking this thing down from every angle as well. So make sure you stick around for Chance Mock and Bo Edge and the crew there for the Outsiders. All right, Kesh, score predictions for Duncanville versus, I don't know, a million points for each.
I was gonna say, like, Duncanville 63, DeSoto 45. Those two teams, when they play, points get scored.
Did you see that a 2026 kid that's lining up opposite Simmons?
Did you see the kid? There's a 2026. Wait, if you're a freshman this year,
I think that makes you 2027.
27.
There's a freshman at Brenham that ran for like 200 plus yards last week and scored 3 touchdowns and caught 6 passes for 199 yards and another 3 touchdowns. A true freshman for Brenham. 400 plus yards of total offense and 6 touchdowns.
I mean, just, dude, it's an athletic feat of itself to be on the varsity at this school like that as a freshman. You get on the varsity and you go for 400. All right. So is that the last?
This one was from earlier when you and Onir were talking about drinks. So I just want to shout out Stanley before
drink more. Okay, Stanley, thank you so much. Hey, it's nothing like what's that 5-star general you used to drink, Catch? That's Jaeger and Goldschlager.
Jaeger, Goldschlager, 151, tequila, and Rumpelmint.
That was Rumpelmints. That was back in the day when
it burned some chest off, burn the hair off your chest.
That was back in the day when I was playing rock shows and Catch you come up on stage and drink a 5-star general and play some bongos and stuff.
Back in the day, those are like the shots that you would buy girls that you recorded. Now you get arrested for that shit.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Like, hey, you want to take some shots with this? It's like, well, that's like blackout stuff. So no.
Yeah. All right. So we've cleared out the super chats, man. We've talked about all the Ryan Wingo stuff. You can follow everything that we're doing over on Orange Bloods. Jason's going to have his column up later about this. I'll have my deep dig, my second deep dig with the offensive line and the offensive skill player stuff. That'll be up tomorrow morning. I'll come back tomorrow. We'll do the offensive line grades for sure. We'll have a little bit later here tonight. Make sure and stick around, like we said, for the Outsiders, and starting bright and early tomorrow. I think starts like 6:30 in the morning to get your horns up. So
can I vent real quick?
Yeah.
I hate, this is not like an on-3 bash, but it burns me up when they rank a guy as like a low 4-star. And then when they announce his commitment, they call him a 5-star because other services have ranked him as a 5-star. They do this all the time where it's like 5-star Anthony Hill's a perfect example. They didn't have Anthony Hill ranked as a 5-star.
Well, that sure looks smart.
But on social media, they will call him like an on-3 5-star because of like their composite.
The composite? Oh.
But it's like, he's only a 5-star because everybody else has him ranked as a 5-star.
You're the one dragging the ranking
guys. So have some balls and list your ranking.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's not our fault that you guys have Ryan Wingo ranked as the 92nd best player in the country. Don't run from it now.
Embrace it, right?
Those are your rankings. Don't, when kids commit, start leaning into other rankings who, oh, by the way, you claim you don't pay attention to.
Yeah.
I mean, rant over. Sorry. Just, it annoys me. You would never see me do that. You would never see me call someone that's not the kid's rank.
No, Catchy, you get called out for calling a kid what he is usually. It's
yeah.
Like, oh, mid 4-star. And it's like, oh, mid 4-star. Like
the only thing the Catch will do that will divert from the rival stuff is you'll say Rivals has him at this, but in the LSR I have him at this, right? So stuff like that. But at least
it burns me up because it's like it's so misleading. It's misleading for an on-3 person today to say 5-star wide receiver Ryan Wingo has committed to Texas when they don't have him ranked as 5 stars.
Nah. Lions can't worry about sheep, man. Isn't that what Caleb Williams said at his press conference the other day? That guy's got a little bit of a Russell Wilson attitude to him. I think we're gonna see what happens through.
I get annoyed easily. You just have to leave. I'm old man angry. Just leave me alone. Plus my Phillies lost last night, so I'm bitter about the world. Honestly.
Speaking of things about bitter about Dez caught it, etc. I think that the Dez Bryant doesn't make. I think that he's a big guy. He's a tank like that. I don't think he's quite as, not as tall and rangy and stuff like that. And I also think that he's just faster.
Dez was special going up.
Yep.
Ryan Wingo is special going forward. They are slightly different things. Dez, believe me, I saw Dez Bryant in high school a lot. That dude was incredible, but he and Ryan Wingo weren't great comparisons.
Yeah. Well, the show made it the whole 2 hours, boys. Thank you so much. Of course, he's Jeff Ketchum. You can find him on Twitter at GKCatch. But of course, most importantly, you can find all of our content over at Orange Bloods and here on Orange Bloods Live. Again, thanks to everybody in the chat, man. It's been an awesome day. Football with Friends, of course. It's always fun as hell. You can scan the QR code there for Football with Friends merch. And make sure to find us back here every weekday, 3:30 p.m. Central Time. So for Catch, for Blake, I'm Alex. We're done.
Later, guys.